What is up, everybody? It's your boy BJ here for the BJ Experience Podcast and last night's Wrestlemania off the charts. But before we get started talking about Wrestlemania, I do want to mention that this is not only live here on Facebook, this is going to be available on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. So, like I said, last night's Wrestlemania absolutely 100% off the charts. But before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to my co-host, my man, my boy, my family, Frenchie. Frenchie and his family have been going through a little bit of a rough patch, and I'm not going to get into it because it's not my business to get into. But just know, Frenchie, we're all here for you. We're all pulling for you. And we hope you all get well soon. We hope to have you back on the show soon, Frenchie. So last night's WrestleMania, let me pull up all of the official details and stuff because I don't want to miss anything. Because God knows last time I missed something, somebody was on my ass for it. So ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania started off with Mr. McMahon and the entire roster up on the stage. 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. WrestleMania started off with Mr. McMahon and the entire WWE roster on the stage. Well, like I said, it started with Vince, and the crowd was emotional. The wrestlers were emotional. I was emotional. I think everybody was emotional. So definitely a sight to see. 25,000, I believe 25,375 was the number that they gave out. I don't know 100%, but Mr. McMahon came out, thanked everybody. You can see the wrestlers on the stage had tears in their eyes. The fans had tears in their eyes. It's the first time since March actually of last year that they had a fan. I believe they said 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day since they had a single fan in attendance other than the wrestlers they had before they moved to the Thunderdome. So this is absolutely huge for WWE tonight and yesterday. Both for the wrestlers, both for the fans. And WrestleMania, I started off kind of bad, honestly. I can't say bad in the sense of like it was horrible. And by the way, we're getting 7 frames per second on this. So if you're watching this on Facebook instead of listening to it, I am so sorry. We are getting like 7 FPS per second here. And it's just not going. But anyway, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley kicked the show off. And the ending shocked me, honestly. I thought I thought Drew McIntyre was going to get his crowning moment. Bobby Lashley was going to get his ass kicked. I legitimately thought we were going to see a squash match because Drew, didn't get a chance to have his moment last year in front of the fans. So I thought they were going to give it to him this year by having him go in, a couple claymores, squash Lashley, and climb back to the ranks and become a 3-time WWE champion. However, if you watched WrestleMania last night, and if you didn't, spoiler alert, he didn't. And the live is acting up on Facebook, but I'm going to continue here because I am recording with Spreaker. So, the show started off, like I said, with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. Actually, the show, before I even go any further, the show started off with a rain delay. The show started with with BB Rexa, I think I said that right, doing the rendition of America the Beautiful. And I was not paying attention to the song at all. And I'll be the first to tell you that. I was not paying attention to that song at all because BB, god damn, she looked good. But, the show started with all the, normal stuff you'd see at WrestleMania, the cold open and all that fun stuff. It's almost the same as last year. And then we went to Michael Cole, Samoa Joe, and I believe it was either Corey or Byron sitting at ringside talking about the rain delay, and all the fans were filing out, and a lot of people thought WrestleMania was getting canceled. A lot of people thought that WrestleMania was going to be getting canceled again, and I think it's high time Vince McMahon stops having shows in Tampa because it's cursed. Last year he went to WrestleMania in Tampa, COVID-19 hit and wiped everything out. This year, he goes to host it, thunderstorms, hurricane-like winds, pouring down rain. Fucking Florida's cursed. So, basically, WrestleMania Night 1 wasn't bad, but Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, I don't want to say it lacked the intensity I thought it was going to have, but it definitely seemed like it was dragging on a little bit at certain points in the match, especially when Drew went for that Claymore and MVP popped up to try to distract Drew. Bobby was already in position to take the Claymore, and it didn't look right. It didn't look right, and then Lashley locked in the Hurt Lock, and after everything Drew McIntyre's been through for the last year and a half, he passes out to the Hurt Lock. Drew McIntyre passes out. He did not tap out. He passed out to the Hurt Lock. So when they said he tapped out, he did not tap. He passed out. So Bobby Lashley is still the WWE Champion. Absolutely shocking everybody. So, by the way, for my Facebook viewers, this is the official mascot of the BJ Experience podcast. This is Buffy. Anyway, so on to a couple things. I'm not going to get into detail about every single match. I am going to get into detail, though. That Tag Team Turmoil match was horrible. They were bouncing around everywhere. Mandy busted her ass walking to the ring. I know it was slippery because of the rain. I get that. But Mandy busted her ass. And if that wasn't a bad omen, I don't know what is. Because that match was painful to watch. The Riot Squad, they did their best to look like stars, but it just wasn't a great match. And I think the ending absolutely ruined it because Tamina, who is still greener than dog shit, and she's been in the company for 11 years, 12 years. She debuted in 2008, I believe, for developmental. I know she debuted on the main roster in 2010, so I know she's been there for about 11 years, but I could have sworn she debuted for developmental earlier. I don't know, but I do know that Tamina and Natalya was the wrong call for that match. And they'll face the Women's Tag Team Champions, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax tonight. So, now that that's out of the way, I don't even want to talk about that match. Like I said, Mandy busting her ass. It was just... That was like the predecessor for the disaster of the entire match. I do want to talk about, though, my man, Grand Slam Styles. AJ Styles and Omos last night becoming the WWE World Tag Team Champions, Raw Tag Team Champions, whatever you want to call them. And before I go any further, speaking of that, whatever you want to call them, the graphic they used for Lashley and McIntyre was the 2016 graphic, 2016-2017, when they were still calling the WWE Championship the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, after it was unified in, 14 with Lesnar? So they were using that graphic, which I thought was a little weird. And somebody pointed out that they used in the main event Bianca's EST of NXT instead of EST of WWE graphic, which a lot of people didn't like. But AJ Styles and Omos becoming the new WWE Raw Tag Team Champions puts AJ Styles in a Grand Slam position. AJ Styles is now a Grand Slam champion in the WWE, and he is the only man to be the Grand Slam champion of both WWE and TNA. So my man AJ Styles out there making history, making moves, and becoming Grand Slam Styles. So big congratulations to AJ Styles on that, making absolute history at WrestleMania. And speaking of history, the cage match between Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. Now, it wasn't historical as a standpoint of it was a great match. I mean, it was fun to watch. I'll give both Braun and Shane credit, and I really don't like Braun, and I don't care to see Shane McMahon on my TV in 2021. But I will give him credit. They both went in there, and they gave us a fun match. They gave us a fun ending with Shane getting absolutely fucking launched off the cage. But the history in there is that was only the second ever cage match at WrestleMania. Now, there's been Hell in a Cell matches at WrestleMania, but that was the only other steel cage match in history. The first was in 1986 for WrestleMania 2 when Hulk Hogan battled King Kong Bundy for the WWE Championship in the main event. So a little bit of history there. The only time in WWE history, WrestleMania history, 2 cage matches. That's it. I thought there would have been more. There's been tons of ladder matches at WrestleMania. There's been tons of street fights at WrestleMania. There's been tons of Hell in a Cell matches at WrestleMania. I think they're up to 3 for WrestleMania Hell in a Cell matches. Boss Man and Taker, Triple H and Taker, and Shane McMahon and Taker. I believe those are the only 3 that ever took place at WrestleMania. So 3 cell matches, but only 2 steel cage matches, and that's a big gap. Honestly, that's a big gap from 1986 to 2021. But, like I said, a little bit of history there. And I do want to talk about the history that the women made in the main event, but we will get to that. We will get to Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks in just a moment. I do want to take it back, before I go any further, I do want to take it back to Wednesday and Thursday night for NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail on it because I did miss half of the first Stand and Deliver. Because Peacock, you can't rewind. You can go back and rewatch it when it's over. But you can't rewind the live thing like WWE. On the WWE Network, if you would go in and you were late to the show, you could start back over. Peacock doesn't allow that. You have to watch it through and then go back and watch it. So I missed part of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I did see the 5-man gauntlet match, which I was hoping Dexter Lumis would have won, because Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano have that history, kind of, for the last number of weeks. I was hoping Dexter Lumis would have won, but I wasn't upset that Bronson Reed won. It was a fun match. Everybody looked good in it, especially Isaiah Scott looked like a fucking star. And if you want to see a star, a future world champion, that's your guy. Isaiah Swerve Scott, that is your guy. But Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano had a pretty good match on night 2. A lot of people saying if you've seen one Johnny Gargano match, you've seen them all, and I'm starting to see that. I really am. They call him Johnny Takeover, but I'm definitely starting to see a lot of repetitiveness. And the main event of night 1 with Raquel Gonzalez winning the Women's Championship, ending Io Shirai's reign at, I believe, 100 or 301 days. I almost said 100. Or I know what I was about to say, yeah. So, 301 days, I believe, for Io Shirai, having her reign ended by Raquel Gonzalez. I guess I would have chosen Toni Storm. I would have chosen Shotzi Blackheart. I would have chosen anybody, really, over Raquel Gonzalez. But I don't book the shows. I don't write the shows. So Raquel Gonzalez is the new NXT Women's Champion. And Io Shirai, will either see her tomorrow night or we'll either see her on Friday. I think. I can't say for sure if she's coming out, but it's pretty damn guaranteed that after that she's coming up to the main roster. And speaking of main roster, I don't know what's left for Tommaso Ciampa to do in NXT. I know he said he doesn't want to go up to the main roster. He said that he would retire before he came up to the main roster, and I get it. I get it. A lot of his NXT counterparts have kind of drifted away, wasted away on the main roster, which is fair. That's a fair assumption for Tommaso Ciampa to make, that he would be wasted away, because there's not very many people like Tommaso Ciampa left. There's not very many Tommaso Ciampas in the world of professional wrestling, and that's a good thing, because the more unique you are, the more people are going to watch you. So Tommaso Ciampa and Walter, again, I will never take a motherfucker named Walter seriously. I don't give a fuck how big you are. I don't give a fuck how hard you hit. A motherfucker named Walter, I will never take somebody named Walter seriously. That man can punch me in the face, break my jaw, bruise my kidneys, do whatever the hell he wants. And I'll be in the hospital laughing, because I will not take that motherfucker's name seriously. But he won the match with a chop after everything they've been through. And I know Walter's whole gimmick is he hits hard. He's the ring general, as they call him. I think he fucking sucks. I think he's bland as fuck. I think he fucking sucks. And yeah, they ended the match on a chop. I mean, it was a good match. Tommaso Ciampa put on a hell of a clinic. Walter did his typical "I'm going to hit you hard and jump off the top rope" shtick. I despise Walter. For 1 second, please. Thank you. Absolutely despise Walter. But he is the champion for 700 and some odd days now and is the longest reigning champion of the modern era. And it comes down to who's going to stop Walter. Honestly, anybody could because he's not even that good. He just hits people really hard. They're building him up to be this massive, giant. And the last time they had a German giant, by the end of his career, he could barely walk. So, I mean, there's that. And the main event of night 2 for Stand and Deliver, I'm just going to try to blow over it because the fact that they ended the match with a chop pisses me off. But the main event for NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver was Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. And if anybody has a length problem with their matches, and you thought Triple H's matches were long, Adam fucking Cole has a length problem. That match went way too fucking long. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, I don't give a fuck how good it was. That match went way too long, and it did not need to go as long as it did. I don't need to see 450 false finishes in the match to tell a story. Beat the fucking piss out of each other and get out of the ring. Every false finish at that point, the crowd, I think even the crowd was kind of just drifting away. They were booing Kyle O'Reilly. They were booing the fuck out of Kyle O'Reilly. They were cheering for Adam Cole almost the entire match. And that brings up the statement, less is more. And I think with less, they would have gotten more out of the story, but, it's an Adam Cole match, so you're expecting super kick, Canadian Destroyer, last shot, and 45 minutes of kickouts. So, congratulations, Kyle O'Reilly. I guess you won the match. But, going back to the main event of WrestleMania. Now, this match, not only the only time in history there's been a women's one-on-one main event at WrestleMania. This is only the second time women have ever main evented WrestleMania. And Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair went out there and they made history. For the first time ever, 2 African-American women stood in that ring in the main event of WrestleMania, headlined the show, and they went at it. Now, there was some spots in the match where I thought it was a little corny looking, but in the end, the finish of that match, those two went for it, and seeing the emotion in Bianca Belair's parents, her father ready to jump the barricade as soon as Bianca won the match. Her father was up on that barricade ready to jump over. I believe they said it was her brother, her mom, and her dad were there. And the emotion in their eyes, and Bianca Belair holding the championship up, yelling, "Mama, Mama, I did it." I can't think of a more picture-perfect ending to a Night 1 WrestleMania. I can't think of a more picture-perfect ending to any WrestleMania, really. You look back, you look at some of the classic endings in WrestleMania. Bret Hart winning the championship at WrestleMania 10. You go back and you look at Macho Man and Liz. Now, that wasn't the main event, but you go back and look at Macho Man and Liz reuniting at WrestleMania, I believe WrestleMania 7. You look back and you see Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Both championships, shaking the ropes, fireworks everywhere. I don't like being reminded of it, but WrestleMania 20, Eddie Guerrero coming to the ring and hugging and having that embrace with Chris Benoit, and despite the fact I cannot stand saying his name. But that was, you think about that moment. You think about Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 when he won the championship, defied the odds. He won the championship. And the shot of him holding the championships up, screaming, "Yes, yes," as the fireworks go off in the background. These are those moments that you think of. These are those moments that you think of when you think about the pure emotion of WrestleMania. And Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, they went out there and they did that. They showed the emotion, and after the match, A fan video caught Sasha smiling from like ear to ear, knowing that they just went out there and made history. Now, I'm in no way, shape, or form a fan of Sasha Banks. But Bianca Belair definitely went out there. They both went out there and they tore it down for the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, and they made history in front of 25,000 people. Now, normally that sounds small for a WrestleMania, but there is a global pandemic going on, so you get what you get and you deal with it. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'd be honestly remiss if I didn't mention this. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. He came in, and a lot of people were doubting him. A lot of people said that he was going to be just another celebrity match. Nobody was going to care to see him. It wasn't what everybody was going to want to see. And in the end, Bad Bunny blew a lot of people away. Oh, he's just another pop singer coming in for a paycheck. Now keep in mind, Bad Bunny moved to Tampa. He moved closer to the Performance Center and has been there every day for the last, 4 months, training for this moment. Training for WrestleMania. And he had his moment, and he was in there with some great company, you know. I'm not going to go out there and say Bad Bunny did it all by himself. He had great company. He had The Miz. He had John Morrison. He had 2 seasoned veterans on his side. Well, not on his side, but as opponents. But he had 2 seasoned veterans on his side in a retrospect of helping him get through what he needed to get through. Because you could hear both Miz and Morrison talking to him throughout the match, guiding him on what they were going to do and what he was going to do. So big ups to Morrison and The Miz for being professionals, as always. And big ups to Bad Bunny for coming in and silencing a lot of critics. Bad Bunny, he hit a fucking Canadian Destroyer. Now, I know that's probably one of the most overused moves in all of professional wrestling, but the fucking man hit a Canadian Destroyer. Which, even if it was all John Morrison, all Bad Bunny had to do was one slip and Morrison would have broke his fucking neck. So, big ups to both of those men for pulling that spot off on the floor while John Morrison's battling a minor injury. I don't think they actually ever disclosed what that injury was. But big ups to John Morrison and Bad Bunny for doing that. And big ups to The Miz for telling an awesome, awesome story for the last number of months. And it culminating with Bad Bunny getting his win and The Miz and Morrison finally getting theirs. And, well, not getting their win, but getting their asses kicked by Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. It just made it all that much more special. And Bad Bunny with the WrestleMania entrance of the night. And that's what it's all about. The spectacle of WrestleMania. And Bad Bunny came in there looking like $1 million. And he left looking like $1 billion. That was a hell of a match. So congratulations to all 4 men involved. They made WrestleMania history. So, also, speaking of history again, Bobby Lashley's win over Drew McIntyre. That was Bobby Lashley's first win, if I'm not mistaken, at WrestleMania since WrestleMania 23. And that may be his only second overall, because I believe he was in the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 22, which he lost. 23, he won the Battle of the Billionaires. 24, I don't think he was there. You gotta correct me on that one. I don't even remember WrestleMania 24 outside of Taker and Edge and Flair and Michaels. But I do believe that he was not at WrestleMania 24, and he was gone from the company by the time WrestleMania 25 came around. And so I believe this is only his second overall WrestleMania win. I believe this is only his second WrestleMania overall win, which is absolutely shocking to say, because I thought he would have had, at this point, I thought he would have had a bigger record. But again, I don't think he was at 24. He actually might have been gone by then, honestly. I don't remember when Lashley left the WWE. But I do not remember him competing at WrestleMania 24. And if he did, please correct me. But as far as I know, this is Bobby Lashley's first WrestleMania win since WrestleMania 23. Because last year he lost. And I know a lot of people don't even consider that WrestleMania, but it was, despite being in front of literally nobody besides the commentators. But last night, the fans coming back, again, the wrestlers emotional. You can see the wrestlers when they were walking to the arena, the talents walking to the arena, they all had tears in their eyes. They all had smiles on their faces. After a year, 1 month, and 1 day, they said it a couple times last night. To have the fans back in attendance, chanting their names, cheering for them, it's definitely it's big for them. They thrive off the audience, they thrive off the live reactions of the crowd, and not some piped in fucking 2K18 noise in front of some LED boards. This is what they live for. This is what they do. But last night, the grand stage of WrestleMania, night 1 in the books, and what a night it was. And tonight is WrestleMania night 2. At the time of this recording, it is 11:36 a.m. WrestleMania 32 will be coming our way in less than 10 hours. I believe it starts at 7, or the pre-show starts at 7. But night 2, we're going to be featuring some, I don't want to say bigger matches, but it's definitely looking that way. I mean, we have the Universal Championship, Edge, Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns. 3 men who were told they were never going to compete again, competing again in the main event of WrestleMania for the WWE Universal Championship. 3 men who at one point in their career had to stand in the middle of the ring with tears in their eyes and say goodbye. And now, finally, all 3 of these men are going to finally get their moment. They're going to stand in that ring together and they're going to tear it the fuck down in tonight's main event. And I am so excited for that match. 3 men, again, who were told this is it, coming back. And they're going to prove that that wasn't it. And tonight, this is it. This is their moment to go out there and make a fucking statement, and a statement will be made. And my prediction for that match, honestly, I gotta go with Roman. I don't think Roman's leaving Tampa with the Universal Championship, but I gotta go with Roman. Daniel Bryan, his career is winding down. Edge, he said he wants to retire on his own terms, but how many more WrestleManias does Edge have left? How many more world title runs does Edge have left? I gotta go with Roman. I would love to see any of these 3 men leave WrestleMania with the Universal Championship, given what they had to go through. Edge with his neck surgery, Daniel Bryan with his surgeries, Roman Reigns with his leukemia battle. I would love to see all 3 of these men finally have their crowning moment here at WrestleMania and leave with the gold. But only one man can, and I believe that man is going to be the big dog, the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. We got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as well here tonight, and the saga of Zayn and Owens continues. Give me 1 second, folks. I want to make sure that I have the entire card here. It's only giving me half of it. And I don't understand why. But while this is loading, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens tonight, I've seen at NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, they were chanting "Fight Forever." Well, don't tell Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens that, because they will. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have fought everywhere from bingo hall parking lots to sold-out stadiums. And now, in front of 25,000 people here at WrestleMania tonight, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens finally get the one-on-one match they should have had back at WrestleMania 32 instead of that ladder match, which, by the way, was a good ladder match. Zack Ryder won. Fuck Zack Ryder. But the main event, well, I shouldn't say the main event, but that should have been a main featured match at WrestleMania 32. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. But now it's a main featured match here tonight. So big ups to them. I have a feeling we're going to see some crazy shit in that match, knowing Kevin Owens. I think we're going to see some extremely crazy shit going down. But that's not all we have. WWE has a sweet lineup here for us. United States Championship match. Yeah, this wasn't loaded in a second ago. United States Championship match. Riddle versus Sheamus. So thank you, CBS, for running a shitty website. But Riddle versus Sheamus. Again, it's still weird calling him Riddle, considering it's Matt Riddle, and he literally has my first name. So it's really weird calling him just Riddle and not Matt Riddle. It's weird. But Sheamus and Matt Riddle are going to tear it down for the United States Championship on night 2 of WrestleMania. And my prediction is we are going to see a new and 3-time United States champion with the Celtic Warrior, Sheamus. Now, Matt Riddle only won the championship back at Elimination Chamber, so his run's still fresh. So a lot of people are saying, Matt Riddle is going to win, and he's going to take the title, probably hold it, and maybe drop it in a couple months, maybe SummerSlam. But my pick for that is the Celtic Warrior, Sheamus. This is Sheamus's moment. This is the match Sheamus needs. And this is the match that is going to propel Sheamus back to the World Championship picture. Right now, that is not a prediction. That is a motherfucking spoiler, as Paul Heyman would say. And I talked about it earlier. The women's tag team match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Tamina and Natalya. I got to go with Natalya and Tamina. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, they ran their course with the titles. They ran their course as a tag team. So, honestly, I think Natalya and Tamina, another just randomly thrown together tag team, wins the titles. And a legit tag team like the Riot Squad keeps getting shit on, which it just goes to show you that they can't book tag team wrestling for shit. But I got Natalya and Tamina winning the titles. I think we're going to see Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler kind of split off, and either one of them or both of them are going to go back to the women's championship picture. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, like I said before, my pick for that is going to be Kevin Owens. Last year, Sami Zayn pulled out the shock win and beat Daniel Bryan, I believe, for the championship, or to retain the championship, the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 36. My pick here tonight is going to be Kevin Owens. We have the Intercontinental Championship Nigerian drum fight. Whatever the fuck that is, I think Big E's going to pick up the win here, and I think Big E is going to be retaining the Intercontinental Championship in this Nigerian drum fight. Whatever the fuck a Nigerian drum fight is. If you've ever seen one, please link it to me, because I have never seen a Nigerian drum fight, and I don't know what the fuck to expect. But I got Big E retaining the title. And then probably my favorite build-up for WrestleMania, I'm hoping this is going to be my favorite match of the night. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Now, this is a callback to 2017 WrestleMania 33 when Randy Orton beat The Fiend, well, he beat Bray Wyatt for the WWE Championship. Now, a lot of people said that Randy Orton shouldn't have won that match, and I agree. I think Bray Wyatt should have won that match, but the fact that they were going to put the championship on Jinder Mahal kind of makes me glad he lost to Randy and not to Jinder. So, I still believe the wrong man won that match. I believe Bray Wyatt should have gotten a hell of a run. He should have been champion at least a year. But Bray Wyatt championships don't really mix together. So the thing is here, The Fiend is back after being, quote-unquote, burned alive by Randy Orton back at TLC. The Fiend's back with a new mask. He's back with a new gear. The new gear looks weird as hell. It's just bulky. I don't know. I don't really like it. The mask looks fucking awesome. But you can tell now it's a whole headpiece. And it just looks like he's wearing a Halloween prop on his head. I get, you can't actually burn the motherfucker alive, which is illegal. But I don't know. I think the new costume just looks a little weird. But it's The Fiend, so I mean, it's going to be weird. So I don't know what to expect tonight, but I expect that this is going to be a hell of a match. And I pick The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, to continue his WrestleMania run. The Fiend's only had one WrestleMania match. Bray Wyatt before, I think he's lost every WrestleMania match he's ever been involved in. But The Fiend, beating John Cena last year and beating Randy Orton this year would be absolutely huge for The Fiend. So my pick is The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. we have Raw Women's Champion Asuka. Asuka has been champion since Money in the Bank 2020. She won the championship, unbeknownst to her. She won the championship in the ladder match. The next night on Raw, Becky Lynch came out and announced that she would be taking a maternity leave, and that Asuka was the new Raw Women's Champion. So Asuka's been champion since, and she's been putting on consistent matches. I will give Asuka that. Asuka's been holding it down as the Raw Women's Champion, and Asuka's been putting on these absolute consistent matches. I believe she lost the championship, to Sasha Banks once in there. I think she won it back at SummerSlam, right before SummerSlam. I could be wrong. I haven't really watched much of the pandemic era WWE outside of pay-per-views, and I've barely watched those. I watch them once and I forget about them. But tonight, Asuka takes on Rhea Ripley, the Nightmare, the former NXT Women's Champion, and the runner-up in the Royal Rumble. So, honestly, my pick tonight, to give her her moment that she was robbed of last year, Rhea Ripley beats Asuka and takes the Raw Women's Championship. Either way, we are in for a hell of a match. Those two are going to beat the hell out of each other, and I cannot wait for that. And like I said, as discussed before, the main event, Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. There's a hell of a story here. Again, 3 men who were told, no, you're done, coming back and saying, we're not done, we're only just getting started. So ladies and gentlemen, my pick for that, Roman Reigns beats Edge, beats Daniel Bryan, and retains the WWE Universal Championship. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all going to happen here tonight. WrestleMania is coming our way in less than 10 hours. We are at 11:47 a.m. And ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania Night 1 was absolutely fantastic. And I cannot wait to see what WWE has in store for us here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, this is the BJ Experience Podcast. A shout out again to my man Frenchie. Shout out to Frenchie's family. I love y'all, and I hope to see y'all soon. This has been the BJ Experience Podcast, and I'll see y'all soon. Or not, because nobody listens to this. But still, as always, viewer discretion is advised and will be strongly ignored. See y'all.